storming bracket.
The Green Knight is a fantasy retelling of the story of Sir Gawain and, of course, The Green Knight. This is a movie that's based on a short story that I, unfortunately, actually haven't read. In fact, that is one of the big things about this movie that I will get into in a little bit. I wanted to see this movie just simply because I'll never forget when I saw the trailer, and I believe it was February 2020. I saw the trailer, I saw it was A24 and directed by David Lowery. The director did A Ghost Story. And I said, say no more. I'm looking forward to this coming out in May of 2020. But then the pandemic hit in March of 2020, and obviously it got pushed back. It got pushed back so far, actually, to late July of 2021. So 14 months later, it got pushed back. And I have to say, after it coming out, this was well worth the wait. The Green Knight is an excellent film. I truly, truly fell in love with this movie. It is a great film. Going back to what I was saying earlier, though, I also went into this movie with a blank slate. I only knew that it was an A24 film, and as I mentioned, that it was based on a book. I haven't read the book. I believe it's a short story. Could be. I haven't read it, so I don't know. But I know a lot of people apparently read it in elementary school and middle school. So I, unfortunately, didn't read it, so I went into this knowing nothing. And I have to say, I'm very glad that I didn't know anything about it because I found myself quite surprised with the things that happened. Specifically, the final act. I was not expecting that to happen. You'll know it if you've seen the movie, but it reminded me of like a billion times better version of like Breaking Dawn Part 2, the final like 15 minutes of this movie. So it was nice to see that Breaking Dawn Part 2 is a movie that I did not like, but I did always say that that twist that is in that movie, that it could have been done so much better. So it's nice to see that The Green Knight uses that twist, honestly, a lot better, and that there are actual consequences. If you guys want to know what I'm talking about, and if you've seen the movie, you can ask down below in the spoiler section what I'm talking about for the last 10-15 minutes with how that's similar to Breaking Dawn Part 2. But I swear, they are more similar than you think if you haven't picked up on that connection. But again, obviously The Green Knight did it a lot better. But going away from talking about Twilight, because let's face it, this is an art house movie. And this is also a movie that is counter-programming to bigger movies that are currently in theaters. Speaking of which, if you are someone that aren't really familiar with A24 films, then you are going to go into this movie having seen the trailer and expect like a Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter type experience, when it's not. The Green Knight is a movie that is more focused on the mood, the tone, really nourishing the visual storytelling, the character nuances that in turn honestly get us as the audience to further understand them. It is more focused on that. It's focused on being strange. So if you were expecting like a cookie cutter movie that feels very satisfying and obviously spoon feeds you as the audience member and gives you 2 + 2 = 4, then you are going to be in for a heck of a disappointment. But if you're looking for a film that treats audience members with respect and gives us as the audience 2 + 2, and then we as audience members are the ones that figure out that it = 4, then you are in for a treat. This is a film that is filmmaking wet dream type stuff. It is incredible to see the stuff that's on screen. Like the cinematography is out of this world. I love the long takes. I love the usage of color, the lighting. I know A24 doesn't use 4K in terms of releases, and it's a shame, really. I think it's Hereditary and The Witch. Those are like one of the few rarities. But please, A24, please release this on 4K. This is truly a great looking film. I especially love the scene where Dev Patel's character leaves, and he's walking, well, not walking, he is obviously on his horse and he is going out slowly. He's not speeding out or anything, he's slowly going. And I loved that slowness because it really gave me time to process what was going on, how the character was feeling, and obviously in addition to really being able to tell with what's going on in the background. Because as you probably have noticed while watching the movie, there's a lot of things that happen in the background that honestly say a lot about the story. And I liked that. I liked that approach. I also really liked the focus on the visual storytelling because the visual storytelling really got me focused on certain things. It got me focused on not only the background stuff, but also the usage of color and the lighting and how that really reflects the story that's being told as well. So that was really good. The score is also really effective. Per usual, A24 really knows how to produce scores that obviously when you're listening to it, it makes sense as to why they did that. But also it's nice to have a film that has a score that isn't just simply background information. Because I feel like a lot of times that's what a score is for movies. You think about like a Marvel movie, most of the times the score is tempo music. It is music that not only is it tempo music, but it's also very, very low because they don't want the focus to be that. They want the focus to be on the actors. And I guess I can get that, but I do think that when you have talented composers, you really should utilize their work. And honestly, sometimes all you really need is to have some sound mixing and a focus on, let's face it, gorgeous music, and the visuals will tell the rest. But unfortunately, a lot of directors don't see it that way these days. It's a shame. But again, I'm talking mainstream filmmaking. But it's nice to see that this is a David Lowery directed film, because let's face it, David Lowery is a movie director that I have only seen 2 of his work, A Ghost Story and Old Man and the Gun, and both movies I wasn't really impressed with. But after watching The Green Knight, after seeing his movies 3-4 years ago, now I'm realizing that I probably should revisit his work, because he is someone that has a voice. From frame one, I could tell that this was a director that had a voice and that he had a story to tell. That's something that a lot of times, unfortunately, we don't get. A lot of times we get it where it's very clear that we had a boardroom of members of a company tell us what we need to have in this movie. And I think that that's something that's a detriment to movies. I think that it's great to see David Lowery direct a movie like this. It is great to see his focus on, as I mentioned, the visual storytelling, the slow passage of time that quickly speeds up. Stuff like that is quite effective for me personally. I also really like the themes and messages. I thought that they were very effective. Nuanced for sure, but I did gain a lot from it, especially as the movie progressed, and when it finally got to that ending, it especially hit home. I thought it was quite good. Also, production design, costume design, visual effects, these things are all quite impressive. I have heard some people talk criticism about the Fox, the way it looks. I personally didn't find it distracting in the slightest. I thought it was rock solid. I don't know how it's going to age 20 years from now, but for now, I will say that I did think that the Fox was solid. It wasn't incredible CGI in that regards, but it was pretty rock solid. And the rest of the CGI is also seamless, I will say, though. That I can't promise you. So I really liked that aspect as well. The acting, as I forgot to mention, Dev Patel gives a great lead performance. He really does bring a lot to the table. Again, these are characters that are dealing with things that we as audience members are figuring out things about them as this journey progresses. And his performance in general is like that, where you don't really know much about him, but as the journey progresses, we realize that he is someone that doesn't talk that much. And that in itself is a character trait, especially when he's surrounded by, people such as Joel Edgerton, which talks a lot, or Barry Jenkins, which these are individuals that their characters talk a lot. So it gave me insight that this is a character that doesn't talk a lot and stays more in tune with his feelings and keeping them repressed than, obviously releasing them for a lot of people to understand. And it makes sense because he's a knight. Although he's not a good knight, I will say that much. He is a knight that doesn't really do that much good per se. Like, he does a lot of clumsy things, but it makes sense because he's still a beginner. So I like that. I like that they did have that. But overall, again, this movie is not for everyone. It's a movie that if you don't like visual storytelling, like the heavy emphasis on that, you probably aren't going to like that. If you are someone that doesn't like strange things that happen, magic and other medieval related stuff that is more focused on, again, the visuals and obviously when it occurs, the dialogue, then you aren't going to like this movie because this movie doesn't have any action in it. It is all about the characters. It is all about the immersive experience. This, for me, is an immersive experience. A lot of people will say like Jungle Cruise or whatnot is like an immersive experience and really takes you into the movie, but I disagree because that movie, although I haven't seen it yet, I feel like it might be like a cookie cutter movie where it feels like it's done by a corporation. It's nice to see that A24, though, is still producing movies such as The Green Knight. Because The Green Knight, again, it's very well crafted. I found myself quite entertained. I got a lot out of it. I can definitely see there being a lot of rewatchability value with this movie. I, again, hope that this does get like a 4K release. Unfortunately, A24 usually only drops Blu-ray releases. So I'm hoping that they make an exception for The Green Knight because, again, it does look incredible. But if not, I'll still definitely be picking up this Blu-ray because I would highly recommend you check out The Green Knight, which will personally be giving a 4.5 to 5-star rating for myself, which gets the good old Tabasco rating. That's right, guys. Tabasco rating, which if you know my hot sauce rating system, you know Tabasco rating is pretty darn high. So, yeah. As I mentioned, guys, The Green Knight, I would highly recommend you check it out. If you're an adventurous film goer, if you're someone that wants a safe movie, I would recommend you watch a Disney movie or something else. And that's nothing against you guys, that's fine. But I'm just saying I would watch one of those Disney movies that are out now. But Guys, if you again are an adventurous film goer, I really do appreciate you guys watching. But yeah, in terms of negatives, again, I just think that the pacing is a little bit slow in the second act. This is something that A24 films do have a little bit for. I find myself feeling that way, I should say, more importantly, that I do feel that feeling a lot now. But yeah, in terms of negatives, I do have to say that that second act, there are a couple slow moments here and there. But I've said this before on Letterboxd in particular. There are a lot of times where A24 films have it where it's slow pacing at first. At least I take it as that. But then I rewatch it and I don't notice the pacing. I don't notice it being slow because I'm already immersed more so than I was the first time. So I'm thinking that The Green Knight might be like that, but I did want to mention that upon first viewing, that is my slight negative with The Green Knight. But besides that, The Green Knight, it's a very entertaining film. Not only is it entertaining for myself, but it's artfully done. It's got a great deal of craftsmanship clearly on display, and it's great to see, again, David Lowery clearly being a master at what he does, and I hope to see other work from him because, again, he is a director to be on the lookout for more so now than ever because he's proven time and time again that he really, really wants us, the audience members, to have an experience, and oh boy, did I have an experience. So The Green Knight, I personally would be giving a 4.5 out of 5 star rating, which gets the good old Tabasco rating. So that's right. I think this is a good movie. In fact, I will go so far as saying, as of the filming of this video in August 3rd of 2021, as of that date, I have to say The Green Knight is probably my favorite 2021 film. Not even kidding. I loved it. So yeah, guys, The Green Knight, what did you think about it? Did you think it was boring? Were you captivated like myself? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, as well as any mid-ground opinions, because I am looking forward to hearing from you guys about that as well. But The Green Knight, again, guys, curious to hear your guys' thoughts, and as always, with the subscription, notification bell, and all that. Catch you guys later.